Thank you, Mandy, for the welcome. My name is Beth Hoffman, and I've been with Showing Time for over 5 years. I work with MLS partners, just like Northstar MLS, to help educate agents and brokers and real estate professionals like yourself on some of the tools that we offer for you to elevate yourself and to further yourself in your professionalism. So, InfoSparks is a really cool tool. This is what we're going to be looking through today. And I'm going to go ahead and go off camera just so I'm not distracting, but welcome. So here's a quick overview of what we're going to be covering today. Now, this is a live demonstration. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and walk through some real examples step by step. I'm going to be moving at a steady pace here, but please do not hesitate to drop any questions into that Zoom chat box. At the very end, we're going to leave some time to cover any questions that do come in. But essentially today we're going to talk about what InfoSparks is, so how you can access it. We'll go through a live demo. We'll talk about some key takeaways and how you can use this in your day-to-day. And by the end of the session, my goal is that you feel comfortable accessing the tool, navigating the tool, building and customizing your own charts, and sharing those charts in a way that's easy to use with your clients and with your marketing. So before we jump into the nitty gritty here, I'm going to introduce you to what InfoSparks is. And some of you might be familiar with this tool already. Some of you may not be. Whatever group you fall into, the session is going to be very useful for you to familiarize yourself with it. And this is a tool, it's a member benefit provided to you courtesy of NorthstarMLS. And this is a powerful analytics tool designed for you as real estate professionals. It's essentially your market analytics hub. So you've got comprehensive market data and insights at your fingertips. It's very user-friendly, and with it, you can create customizable charts to show off local market trends and sales stats and comparative analysis. Essentially, this tool is going to let you turn the data that we're getting from Northstar MLS into clean, customizable charts so you can see what's going on in the market and that you can show others what's going on in the market. So we're going to go ahead and get started and talk about how to access it. That's obviously going to be important. And the good news is you don't have to remember a separate website or password. Everything is available right from the Northstar MLS tools that you're already using. So the first access point to get to this tool is going to be when you log into the Northstar MLS system. You're going to see all these familiar tiles: Matrix, Rate Plug, Flex MLS, and the InfoSparks tile is going to be what you click to get directly into it. Again, no need for a username or password. Now, if you're in Matrix, you can also access it under external links, and it'll look like InfoSparks. So you'll see under external links, that little InfoSparks button right there, that link, that'll get you in. And on listing detail pages, this is pretty nifty. If you're working within the MLS system, and this is the same for Flex MLS, by the way, you're going to be able to access it via this little chart that when you hover over it says InfoSpark statistics. So if you're looking at an individual listing in Matrix, for example, and you're interested on what's going on in that surrounding area, if you click into that little button right there, it's going to take you into the tool for that specific city. So we're looking at a demo property here, 123 Main Street in Mora. Clicking on this would take us directly into Mora in the tool. So again, this makes things very easy for you. Everything is intertwined, so you don't have to do any extra work to get to what you're looking for. Now, finally, if you are a Showing Time for the MLS user, which hopefully you are, once you log into your Showing Time account, there is a Reports tab here. And within the Reports tab, there's a Market Stats module. Market Stats just means InfoSparks. Market Stats is kind of the umbrella term for all of the products that fall under it, including InfoSparks. If you click into that, you're going to be able to get in. We're going to go ahead and jump into our live demo then. And this is what you're going to see when you log in using any one of those access points. Now, with InfoSparks, again, it's a very user-friendly interface, and it's designed to let you do everything you need to without having to click around too much. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of basic navigation here. At the top, you'll right above or right below, excuse me, the InfoSparks logo, you're going to see a geography tab. This is what we're going to be using to select specific areas in the market to look at. Right beneath this tab are the different filters that we can apply to drill down into specific areas in the market. The chart is interactive and it lives right in the center of the screen. And then right along the bottom are the different metrics that we can use to analyze data and build the different charts that we're going to be doing today. So we're going to be digging into each one of these details or each one of these features, excuse me, in more detail. But before we do, I do want to call out a couple of important things to note. Some questions we get all the time, great questions. And first and foremost, the data in this tool is for residential properties only. So if you're wondering, is there commercial or rental data here? The answer is no. Now, the data in this tool also is from NorthstarMLS. So you can see the logo down here. If you are a member of a neighboring MLS or association and you're wondering, what about that association? Do I have InfoSparks in that association? I would reach out to them to see if that is something available for you. Now, secondly, the figures you're going to notice as you are using this tool, they're going to change throughout the month. They're going to fluctuate. And that's because the data in this tool syncs every single night to capture any updates that occur to the data in the MLS. We essentially want the data here to be as closely aligned with the data in the NorthstarMLS system as possible. Now, data is going to be available when you're in the tool for the last full month. So right now it's available through January 31st, and you can see it right here, January 2026. And new data is going to be released on the first of each month. So if you're wondering when February's data is going to be available, it'll be available on March 1st when you log in. And that's because we'll have then a full month of February to have data for, and we'll start pulling updates from data going through February 28th. Now, finally, last point before we jump into these features, InfoSparks is not meant to replace your CMA. This data here is not listing level data. So you're going to want to think of it this way. You want to use your CMA to understand the property, and you're going to want to use InfoSparks to understand the market. So let's go ahead and jump in and talk about how you can use this as a real estate professional. So the geography tab is probably where you're going to start, because you're going to want to figure out which area you want to focus on. Now, if I want to keep my view broad, I can leave the tab here, which is the default region, as the Twin Cities region. And the metric that I'm viewing is always going to appear above the chart. I'll also see it as a highlighted white bar along the bottom tabs. So if you're ever wondering, what metric am I looking at? Highlighted at the bottom, also right above the chart. Now, the chart itself is interactive. You can see as I hover my mouse cursor over each data point, I'm going to see what each data point is. And right at the side of the chart is a summary panel. So this is going to give a quick snapshot of how the most recent month performed for that metric. So for example, last month we could see January, the median sales price for all residential properties in the Twin Cities region was $390,000. You're going to notice a percentage change here as well. This percentage change is from that same month, January, but 1 year ago. So January of 2025 to January of 2026. So you can see with just a quick glance here, I can pull out a very clear talking point. The median sales price for all residential homes in the Twin Cities region increased 2.6% between January of 2025 and January of 2026. Now, we're looking at the Twin Cities region, but what if I want to focus in on something more local? That's where I simply just click into the tab itself. Now, when I click into this tab, a long list of available areas is going to appear that I can scroll through. I can also look by one of these predefined geography filters. So I can look by county, neighborhood, community, city, school district, or postal code. You'll also see one last tab here that says My Areas, and this is a geography filter that houses areas that you have already custom created. And we're going to talk about how you can custom create your own areas a little bit later on. I just wanted to call that out for now. Now, the easiest way to use this, because you do have such a large market, if you don't want to click through one of these predefined filters, is to simply type it in. And if that area is available and defined in the MLS and is available to us, it's going to populate. So let's use an example here. Maybe I'm working with a buyer who wants to relocate near in Minneapolis, but wants to settle down into a suburb somewhere with good amenities and schools like Edina. Well, I can go ahead and start pulling up Edina, and anything that is associated with what I've typed in is going to populate. So you see we've got three results here. We've got the city of Edina, and then we've got a couple of school districts. So I'm going to use the city. Before I click into the city of Edina though, I want you to keep your eye on the chart and on the summary panel because it's going to change very quickly and you'll see that change in real time. So when I click on Edina, you'll notice the chart updates, it looks very different, and the summary panel has updated as well, and that's by design. We want the data here to reflect what's going on in this specific region, Edina specifically. So we can see that the median sales price for all residential homes has gone up quite a bit from the Twin Cities region of, I believe it was, what was it? It was 390, yep, to 675,000 in Edina specifically. So that tells me that homes in Edina are probably a little bit more expensive, comparatively speaking, to the entire MLS. And from a buyer's agent standpoint, this is where InfoSparks is going to really help me. I can sit down with clients and show them, here's the median sales price trends in Edina, and this is going to help them answer, is this location realistic for my budget and my timeline? Is this somewhere I could see myself feasibly moving to? Is it in my budget? Now, maybe that buyer I'm working with sees this number. I say, hey, it looks like it's a little bit higher than the rest of the MLS. And they say, well, we love Edina, but we might need something more affordable. What about Maple Grove? Now, I could pull up Maple Grove instead, but an even better way to show them the differences between those two areas is to click this Add an Area tab right next to this first Edina tab. And with that, it's going to pull up a fresh tab for me to then type in another area. So Maple Grove. And I'm going to choose, again, we got two options here. I'm going to choose the city of Maple Grove. And now you see that Edina and Maple Grove are both listed on the same chart, and the figures are listed in the summary panel there. So not only do the numbers here indicate that Maple Grove is far more affordable than Edina, but the visualization of the chart here really drives that home too. You can see that Edina is way up here with this blue line compared to the red line of Maple Grove. So if the person I'm working with, the buyers I'm working with, are ever thinking which is more affordable, this is really going to, again, drive my point home. Now, InfoSparks is going to let you add up to 4 areas at a time if you want to. So if I wanted to compare, let's say, Edina, Maple Grove, Minneapolis, and our 4th area, we'll do St. Anthony, the city of St. Anthony. You'll see that 4 lines do appear. This doesn't look too shabby, but if I were to switch over to the median days on market, that's where things can get kind of complex. So once you get past 2 to 3 areas, sometimes the lines may start to overlap like you see here. The colors get busy and it's a lot harder for your clients to see what's going on. So as a best practice, I always recommend comparing 2 areas at a time, typically. A maybe area against a favorite area, or a broad area versus a smaller area, so that the story you're telling with the data stays clear and easy to follow. So we're going to stick to my best practice here and just keep Edina and Maple Grove up and talk about the next way to dive into what you're looking to showcase. I'm going to go back to the sales price here, median sales price. Now, the next step is deciding what kind of homes we actually care about in the data here. And that's where the filters along the top come in. So across the top of the screen, right below the geography filter or geography tabs, you'll see the filters. So you can filter by price range, property type, construction type, seller type, square footage, bedrooms, and waterfront types. You have a lot of options here to drill down into the specifics. So we're working with those buyers, and maybe they are really focused on a specific budget. Maybe they're looking into homes that are only within the $400,000 to $600,000 range. We do have a price range filter here. However, these ranges don't really align with what we're looking to showcase to them. So what can we do? Well, we can actually customize them. And 2 of these filters, price range and square footage, are customizable. What that means is the little custom button next to each of these is going to let you, when you click on it and select custom range, input your own values. So in our example here with our buyer saying, hey, our budget is 400 to 600K, we can simply click into the custom button next to price range. We can select custom range here, and then we can go ahead and just type in our $400,000 to $600,000 range, click done, and boom, it is ready for us to apply. So that's our first filter we're going to apply there. Now, Maybe that they're looking specifically at single family homes. Well, right now we're looking at all property types. So let's drill down into single family only. Let's omit the rest of these by simply clicking single family. Again, you'll notice that the chart updates and so do the figures. We're seeing that median sales price climb upward. And that's understandable. We're not accounting for condos or townhomes in our search anymore with the single family applied. Now, let's take this a step further and say that we want to focus on 3-bedroom single family homes. They're looking for a 3-bedroom home. I can go ahead and apply that. And I'm showing you this because you can really layer on these filters to hyper focus on what it is you're looking to showcase. And if this client, for example, let's say that they are interested in how much some more space would cost them. Maybe they're budgeting for a 3-bedroom, but they can swing a 4-bedroom possibly. I can show them on a single chart what the difference is between those two by selecting both the 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom options here, and then clicking this little double arrow breakout button. And you'll see this double arrow breakout button next to every single filter type, because you can do this with any of these. If you want to compare, break out all of these square footage options at once on a single chart, you can. If you want to break out new construction and previously owned, you can. In this case, we're looking at 3 and 4 bedrooms. We're going to break it out. And now you'll see we have a lot of information here. So at quick glance, we can see in Maple Grove, the median sales price for 4 bedrooms is just under $490,000 versus 3 bedrooms, which is $465,000. And if their budget allows, this is where that conversation comes in. Maybe it makes sense to stretch for that extra bedroom, and maybe Maple Grove is where we want to take a look. Now, one last thing I want to call out about filters is that there is something called being too specific with them, and I'll show you what I mean. Now, if I were to continue layering on filters and I were to select new construction, you're going to notice the chart updates and it looks like this. There are 2 lines on it, but the chart looks incomplete. The data points start not at the beginning of the chart, but in April of 2024, and it doesn't look like a complete chart. Now, if I go even further and layer another one, such as this 1,500 square feet or less filter, a chart doesn't appear at all. We get a message instead that says there's no data available to display for the given criteria. Now, whenever you see this message, when you're using InfoSparks, or you see a chart that looks incomplete, you see lines that are stopping later or starting later, or stopping abruptly, anything like that, just keep in mind you're being too specific. That's all this is telling you. So in these instances, what you're looking for doesn't exist in nature, in the data, so to speak. So what you'll want to do is just take a step back, remove 1 or 2 filters, and you should see the chart come back with a more reliable view of the market. Now, we've talked about filters. Let's take a look at how we can clean this chart up itself and change how it behaves. Now, right now, the chart is doing a lot. You can see this. We've got 2 areas. We've got Edina and we've got Maple Grove. We also have a custom price range as a filter. We've got single family applied, and we've got the 3 and 4 bedrooms split out onto the same chart. So this is great for analysis, but if I were to share this as is, it might feel a little overwhelming to somebody who's seeing it for the first time. So whenever your chart starts to look a little bit busy, you're going to be able to customize it to simplify the view before sharing it out. And to do this, you're going to look at these 3 tabs that start right after share. So we've got line, 3 years, and 12 months. These 3 tabs are going to allow you to customize the chart and how it behaves. And we're going to start with the line view. Now, right now we're looking at the line view. This is great for showing longer term trends over time. But the bar view, when I click on this, is going to be better when I want to share or compare, specific groups. So different bedroom counts across a couple of areas like I'm doing here. So I'm going to switch over to the bar view, and you're going to see immediately that this looks a lot easier to understand. This is what we want to be working with here. The chart is easier to read. Anyone that I share it can easily see this is how 3-bedroom versus 4-bedroom homes are comparing to one another in each one of these areas. They don't have to interpret any overlapping lines. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you do want to use the bar view, you're going to be working with a shorter window of time. So your options are going to be 1, 2, or 3 years of data, as you can see here. And that's by design. It's intentional. The bar view is designed to give you a quick side-by-side comparison. So for example, how did this January compared to the last 2 Januaries? And that's one last thing to call out about the bar view. We're not looking at a full year here. It's going to be the last reporting month, so in this case, January, and then for however many years. So January of 2024, 5, and 6. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove these filters and kind of start from scratch to talk about the rest of the customization options. I'm going to look at the Twin Cities region, and I'm going to have all the filters zero out here and talk about the line view instead of the bar view. And the line view is the default, and this is the view that is probably going to be used pretty often, especially when analyzing the market, because this really shines when you want to see how your market has behaved over time. So instead of comparing one year over another, you get a full shape of the trend. So where things have dipped and where they've accelerated and how long those patterns have lasted. And this is very useful when you're talking about bigger storylines. Maybe you want to see what happened to inventory over the last 10 years, or how have prices moved since the pandemic. And with the line view, you have a lot of other time frame options to choose from. Maybe you want to shorten your time frame, look at something a little bit more recent. You can select 1 year of data instead of the default 3. You also have a couple of longer term options like 5 years or 10 years. And you have a max option. And I always encourage you to use the max option, especially when you're using InfoSparks to analyze trends, because when you select this option, you're going to get data starting as early as January of 2005. That is over 20 years of data at your fingertips and is incredibly helpful when you are trying to say, here's where we are now, and here's how that compares to the last 2 decades. Now, the last customization option for the chart is going to be this tab here that says 12 months, and that means rolling 12 months. And this tab really changes the kind of trends you're going to see emerge on your chart. So with the rolling 12 months selected, this is going to be each data point representing 1 full year of activity. So it's essentially annualizing the data. And the benefit of using this view is that it's going to smooth out any short-term noise. So any seasonal spikes and dips are going to be eliminated from this view. It's going to really let that long-term trend stand out. So this is good for when you're looking at the overall direction of the market, such as are prices climbing or flattening out, or are they starting to soften over time? And in this example, we're looking at the median sales price for the entire Twin Cities market. We can see that prices had started to soften in the 2011, 2012 era and had started to bottom out then. However, they've been, as we can see here from 2012 onward, steadily moving upward in an uninterrupted climb for the most part. So this is a really nice way to showcase how healthy your market has been performing for the last 15 plus years. Now, if I'm interested in short-term behavior, I can change this rolling 12-month view to a monthly view instead. And this is a great option when you want to talk about what's happening right now and look at things like seasonality. So in the monthly view, each one of these data points is going to be a single month of activity. And I'll show you real quick with homes for sale as an example, how different these figures look. Homes for sale, for example, we can see September of 2025 with the monthly view selected over 11,000. So that's a monthly view. If I switch over to the rolling 12 months, give me 1 second. Well, actually, that's interesting. Let me use new listings as an example. So typically, only 12 months is, yes, here we go. So if we take a look, new listings for this past recent month, January, 66,000. If I switch over to monthly, that number dips down to 3,900 with the monthly view. So again, monthly view is going to be a single month of activity versus 12 months into one. And this is going to really showcase seasonality. And you can see that in the chart with new listings climbing in the spring and summer, which is absolutely understandable given the climate in the Minneapolis area. Warm summers, cold winters, and we can see the cold winters being or impacting the housing market as well, with new listings dipping at that time. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at a couple of these metrics up at the bottom, and I want to talk about these metrics before we talk about sharing the charts. Now, the metrics here are going to be familiar to you. You've got new listings, homes for sale, pending sales, closed sales, and so on. And each one of these tabs you can think of as an individual chart. So whenever you want to create a chart, just think of whatever tab you're looking at is going to be the chart you're creating. And we get the question all the time, can we layer multiple metrics onto a single chart? And the answer is no. And that's because when you are accounting for multiple areas like we were just looking at, and multiple filters being applied, things can get a little bit messy and chaotic. So a single tab is going to be a single chart. And if you want to create multiple charts at once, I recommend just opening up a chart for a new one in a separate tab, and then you can compare them side by side. Now with these metrics, there are two here that I want to call out specifically, the shows to pending and the shows per listing metrics. And these two are actually tied directly into the appointment activity from the showing time for the MLS system. So because InfoSparks is helping you strategize with others about the market, we want you to be able to use this tool in tandem with the tools you're already using, like showing time for the MLS. So if you're ever interested in what's going on with buyer interest and whatnot, what's going on with showings, this data is coming directly from the appointment activity in that system. Now, one of these metrics that I do like to highlight is going to be the days on market, the median days on market, and I'm sticking to the monthly view here. Now, the median days on market, as I'm sure you all know, is a fantastic way to gauge competition and buyer interest. When the days on market is low, homes are moving quickly. Usually means strong demand. There's more buyers. We can see that, May and April of 2022, May and April of 2025, May and April and June of 2024. Again, that monthly view is selected, so we see that seasonality. Now, when they're higher, such as the winter months, January of each year, we know that buyers are typically having a bit more time to look for what they need, and listings are sitting longer. That means that stronger offers and contingencies and price adjustments are going to be available to them. So if I shorten this time frame, let's say to 5 years instead of max, really see that up and down behavior, you can see that the days on market has consistently gone up in the winter months and fallen in the summer months. So for sellers thinking about listing in the next few months, you can point out to them which periods buyer interest tends to spike, which is great news if they're aiming for the strongest possible price. So next few months is going to be great for sellers, most likely. Buyers planning to jump in around that time is going to be where you set expectations that many other buyers are probably going to be active in the coming months as well, and the room for negotiation might be much tighter. And then, of course, because InfoSparks has all these different metrics, you can tie in things like sales prices and percentage of last list price, or percentage of of original price or list price, to showcase to them what others have paid in the past during that time period. Now, you can also use these metrics as a powerful talking point with your sellers, and the price per square foot, the median price per square foot, is a great way to do that. It's one of my favorite ones to point out because it gives a clear apples to apples benchmark for what buyers have actually been willing to pay in a given area. So for a seller, that can do a couple of things. If they are pricing close to the median, it can help reinforce that they position themselves fairly and competitively. If they want to list above the median, though, if they want to list above this, the overall Twin Cities region median of 194, this is a good opportunity to talk to them about upgrades or the condition or unique features that might justify that premium. And again, InfoSparks is customizable. So if you're working with a specific client, let's say in Minnetonka, I'm going to pull up Minnetonka here, they're looking to sell their previously owned single family 4-bedroom home. You can apply those filters here, and now you have median price per square foot data every month, going as far back as January of 2000 or of January of 2005 if you want to. So this is a good opportunity to help, again, set expectations, let them know, hey, we can see what was going on. If they're looking to sell in May, let's say, we can look at the data point for May last year and see that single family 4-bedroom previously owned homes in Minnetonka last May had a median price per square foot of $240. And if they are looking to price it higher than that, that's where that conversation comes in. And again, because you can break out multiple filters on the same chart, maybe you want to showcase what new construction homes in that same sort of arena have been going for. You can see new construction has been higher, understandably newer homes. Now, again, InfoSparks is a great way to drive those conversations, and the visualization here is perfect when you're working with people because it's going to provide context and help you, in this case, land on a price that feels ambitious but still fair, still being fair and rooted in the data with that seller. Now, we're going to go ahead and talk about sharing the charts, because after you've done all of this work to really craft what you want to showcase, you're going to want to share them out. And to share them, excuse me, you're going to click the share button right above the chart here. And the share button is going to pop up the screen that has you go through 2 steps. Step 1 is the type of data you want to share in this chart. Now, static data is a snapshot in time. The numbers are not going to change after you create the chart with this option selected. So this is a good one to select when you are looking to showcase closed sales for a specific period of time where you want a fixed reference point. Live data, however, is going to allow the chart to update over time, the figures in the chart to update over time. Remember, InfoSparks refreshes data every night through the end of the previous month. So any changes picked up in that nightly sync is going to automatically appear in the data in your live charts. So this is perfect for anything you plan to reuse, like a market snapshot on your website or in reoccurring emails. Now, step 2 is how you want to share it, the method. PDF is straightforward. When you click the share button, it's going to pop up a URL that you can download or view to print. And this is going to be useful for you to print out to bring with you to open houses, listing presentations, or client meetings. It's not interactive, but it has everything that you need on the chart. I'm going to save social media and email for last because that is the most popular. Embed is an option that you'll want to use if you're interested in having a chart appear right on your website page. So it's going to provide you with a snippet of code you'll see that you can drop into your website or blog. And again, anyone who visits your site is going to see that chart you've chosen to share. And then the CSV option is going to download the underlying data in an Excel-friendly CSV file. So this is aggregate data, does not include listing level details. You're not going to see MLS numbers, but this is a great option to use if you want to build your own tables or reports. Now, finally, we have the social media and email option. And with this option, you'll get a URL that you can share out. Anybody that has this URL is going to see this chart. And this chart is interactive. So this is great for everything that you're doing online. Now, you'll see when you open that link that you're going to have the ability to hover over these lines or these data points, excuse me. And at the top here, you're going to see a share this page section where you can share this out to Facebook, to X, to LinkedIn. There's a little blue plus button that you can click, and there's a bunch of other third-party platforms that you can share this out on. You'll see at the very bottom of the chart where the data is coming from, NorthstarMLS, and you'll also see a date on this chart that lets whoever's looking at it know when the chart was created. So today's February 18th, that's when it was created. If you create the chart on February 21st, this will say data is from February 21st. Now, finally, there is some branding at the top here, you may notice, and this is your own personal branding, and I'm going to show you how you can update this for yourself. It's going to be back in the main tool, and right along the top ribbon here is a profile button. When you click on that button, this is going to be where you can upload a headshot or a logo and then update your agent and office information. So it's going to be basic info, your contact info, your email, your phone number, your office address. You also have some things like a tagline and professional title. Keep in mind that if any of this information changes at any point, get a new phone number, for example, new email address, you change offices, this information does not pull automatically from the MLS system. You're going to have to come in here and just manually update it to ensure that everything is staying up to date and consistent. The only info you cannot update manually is your name. We get that directly from the NorthstarMLS data, and that's just for consistency purposes. Now, last but not least, we're going to talk about the My Areas feature. Now, My Areas I brought up at the very beginning of our presentation when I was talking about geography filters. It's this little tab right here. And My Areas is a tool that you can use to create custom areas and run stats on those custom areas. So these are custom areas that maybe aren't already defined in MLS, things like a gated community, a named neighborhood, or even a combination of several areas. And you'll access this tool, this feature, by clicking My Areas at the top ribbon. And from here, you'll be taken to a map. Now, you can search for a location in the map if you want to find the specific region you're looking for. And in this case, let's say I'm interested in the Bear Path gated community in Eden Prairie. Now, instead of just dragging around the map here, I can simply click in Eden Prairie because I know that's where it's near. It'll take me to Eden Prairie here, and then I'm going to go ahead and find, here it is, Lake Riley. Here it is. This is the Bear Path gated community. And I want to create a custom area for this. It's not popular, it's not a defined area in the MLS, but I can still run stats on it. So to do that, I simply click a shape around the area. And once I've clicked that shape, or made that shape, excuse me, I'm going to click save. And then I'm going to name it. So I'm going to name this Bear Path Eden Prairie and save it. Now, once I save it, a green box is going to appear letting me know how big the area is that I've created and how many listings historically have been in this area. There are not almost 1,000 listings in this region right now. There have been almost 1,000 listings here since January of 2005. So when you see this number of listings, that's historical listings going back to 2005. Now, I can go back to the map to create more areas. I can create as many as I want, or I can click See Stats, and it'll take me directly into the Bear Path Eden Prairie custom area I just made. And there I can go ahead and start running stats. I can figure out what it is I want to report on and showcase that to my client. Now, if you have questions while you're using this tool, because we've gone through a lot of features today, we do have a couple of resources at your fingertips. First is this little question mark button. When you click on this, it's going to populate a blurb of what each of these different features does. We also have a user manual and FAQ tab at the very top, which is a comprehensive user manual on everything that we've talked about today and more. So in here, you're going to see things like definitions of metrics. Maybe you're wondering what the percent of last list price is considered to be in InfoSparks. We've got a definition and an example here. We also have a share section, and I always like to call out that it's important when you're using InfoSparks, before you start diving in, to familiarize yourself with the share section, the shared chart expiration paragraph specifically. With this section, it's going to let you know how to keep your charts active. Shared charts do not stay active forever. They're active for 6 months by default, and then there's some things you need to keep in mind to keep those charts active beyond that point. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Back to our main thing. So some key takeaways here. So we talked about a lot. So InfoSparks is your go-to interactive housing market tool. It is your housing market research hub. It's going to be what you use to create custom charts in your market. So if you want to create it for specific regions, you want to look at Minneapolis versus Blaine, you can do that. You can compare and contrast up to 4 areas if you want. The filters also allow you to drill down into distinct housing characteristics. If you want to look at waterfront properties in Minnetonka, you can do that. If you want to look at new construction properties in Anoka, you can do that. Now, you also can use this to identify trends. So because you've got so much data going back to 2005, you can use that monthly view if you'd like to identify short-term seasonality, and the rolling 12-month to see longer-term trends, like prices bottoming out at 2011, 2012, and then climbing upward. Then all of this is for you to analyze and then share away with others so that they also can reap the benefits of know what's going on. So you can share them as PDFs, you can share them on social media, you can embed them into your website and more. Now here's some usage examples, how you can use it in your day-to-day. Just some general tips. Now, this is just something to keep in mind, practical ways to use it in your business, in your day-to-day, and what we've seen other agents use it, or how we've seen other agents use it. So with monthly snapshots, for example, you can send out simple, consistent updates for areas you specialize in. So you can pick a couple of key metrics, maybe median sales price and days on market, and share those charts out every month so your clients start to recognize it in their go-to pulse check for the market. Listing presentations are a really popular way that people integrate InfoSparks charts into. So InfoSparks is going to provide you a visual proof. You can zoom in onto the listing surrounding neighborhood and show exactly how prices and days on market and inventory have been trending, which helps you anchor your recommended list price in real local data instead of just an opinion. Buyer consultations is another strong usage point. It's going to help you talk strategy instead of just searching, wasting your time and your buyer's time. You can pull up the targeted price range and area, use trends and pricing and days on market, and then discuss timing, competition, and how aggressive they may need to be with their offers. And then finally, newsletters and social media. So many of us are online, and newsletters and social media is a great way to get out to a broader audience. So instead of sitting down with a specific client, you just want to get the word out to as many people as you can. You can drop a clean chart into an email, a blog post, a social media post with a quick line or two of commentary, which will help you educate people on key metrics like pricing and inventory while positioning yourself as the market expert that they should turn to. Now, again, to share these charts out, you're always going to want to start off by clicking that share button right next to the print button above the chart. And here's some examples of what it would look like. So if you do decide to embed it onto your website, for example, using that embed option, getting that snippet of code, somebody would visit your website. This is what the visitor is going to see, the chart right there. They don't have to go looking for it. LinkedIn is a very popular way that people use InfoSparks in tandem with their posts. So if you're talking about how well an area is performing, how inventory is on the upward swing, you can use InfoSparks to help showcase that, compare multiple areas so people understand what's going on. LinkedIn or Twitter, Twitter/X is another popular way. So is Facebook and Instagram. Another similar to LinkedIn, you can create social media posts and use InfoSparks to include charts so people understand a broader context of what's happening. And then for the CSV, I like to point this out because when you're grabbing a CSV option, again, it's not going to be aggregate data. You're going to see something that looks like this when you download the file. No MLS numbers. It's going to be raw figures and values. But what's nice about this is you can go ahead and make it look pretty. You can clean it up, create reports, create custom charts with it if you'd like. So if you're somebody that loves Excel, CSV option is a great way to get all of those numbers for whatever time period and then finesse them into a report or a chart that you want to share out. Some frequently asked questions that we get, just as a reminder, I mentioned this earlier on, but there is no commercial data, there's no rental data, there's no county records data included in this tool. It is residential real estate data only from NorthstarMLS. The data is updated every single night through the end of the previous month, so changes are looking to be captured through those nightly updates. And with that said, this is a question we get all the time, and it's a great question. We'll get questions regarding the numbers in the MLS system and in InfoSparks not matching. And we're asked, is this normal? What's going on? So the answer is yes. If you go into Matrix, let's say, and you run a search for new listings in Blaine, and you go into InfoSparks and do the exact same search, and the numbers don't match up exactly, do not fret, that is to be expected. There's a lot of factors at play here. The filters behave a little bit differently between two systems. There's different calculations behaving differently, algorithms working behind the scenes. The numbers will fluctuate. So unless you see something way out of the ordinary, you know, we're talking hundreds off, it's normal. Now, if you do see something that looks a little wonky though, ask questions, reach out to NorthstarMLS. They will connect with our team, we'll connect with our data team to take a look and get you a response. And if you have questions regarding anything else, we do have that user manual and FAQ tab at the very top when you're in the tool. And we'll get this question, can you post these? Can you share these out? And the answer is yes, this is what they're here for. Well, it wouldn't be very useful if you were just sitting here looking at these charts. They're here for you to share with your clients, to share with your marketing, email them, print them out, use them in your advertising. We just ask that when you do so, please make sure you keep that source citation, the footer that says data's from Northstar, the tools from Showing Time, so that people know where you got it from. Now, help and training, I do want to call out that we have a couple of upcoming monthly training sessions. This is a national webinar series we host, and InfoSparks is the first half of that series. It's an hour long when you look at InfoSparks first, and it's going to be a session that we always recommend you join if you need a refresher. We're not looking at your tool specifically, but we are looking at something, we're looking at everything that we're talking about today. So I always recommend that you join. It's through a system called GoToWebinar. The session's recorded, a copy of the recording is sent out to you via email that same day. So please check that chat box. One of my teammates will drop it in, as well as they'll drop a link to our help site in with that as well. So we'd love to see you in one of our sessions. They're hosted every month, and you'll be able to select a date, or a month, I should say, a month option that works for you. And then I'm going to keep this screen up, help and training. We do have a team of people here at Showing Time, our customer experience team, who are available 7 days a week to help you. So their hours of availability are here, as well as their contact info. And I'm going to go ahead and keep the screen up and come back on camera and see what sort of questions we have.
Beth, there are a